Good grades, bad grades, volunteer experience, or none, it doesn't matter. There's still a scholarship out there for you. And if you're having trouble finding these scholarships, no need to worry, because here at Bold.org, we are an expert on the matter. That's right, at Bold.org, you could find hundreds of thousands of dollars of exclusive scholarships for all students. So when it comes to scholarships, you can earn them in a variety of different ways, such as good grades, or based on your income, or even using sites like Bold.org. So whatever your case may be, your school may not give you as much money in scholarships as you would hoped, so you gotta go on the scholarship hunt. And no matter what way you choose to source your scholarships, this video can definitely be helpful for you. After reviewing 100,000 applications, our scholarship team here at Bold.org put together a list of 5 tips to help you win. That's right, win a scholarship. So listen up. So pretty much the biggest factor of you winning your scholarship is your essay, which leads us to tip number 1. Have a strong opening. So this is what sucks the reader in into actually being interested in what your essay says. And if you have a really weak opening, it could really turn the reader off and just not be interested at all in reading the rest of your essay, which in turn leads to not a win. So for example, if you were to have an essay prompt that told you to explain the worst day you've ever had in your life, a really good example of a weak opening would be, the worst day of my life was the day I failed my finals. It doesn't leave the reader enough room to be interested or guess what you have to say, because automatically you're telling them the whole entire story. The worst day of my life is when I failed my finals. You're not giving them any room to imagine what happened or really make it interesting, because you straight up just said what your entire essay was about in that one sentence. And what's the point of the reader reading more if they already know what was the worst day of your life? So instead of using an opening like that, we could use a stronger opening like this. It was a stormy and cold day outside, and I even slept past my alarm. This was the absolute perfect setup for the disastrous day I had ahead of me. See what I mean? So this opening kind of leaves room for the imagination, like, oh my goodness, what was the worst day of her life? I want to know what happens. It was a terrible morning, and I just want to know, like, what was the worst day of her life? You're not giving away anything, and you're just making the reader more interested in knowing more of what you have to say. I'm telling you, having a strong opening can make a world of a difference for your essay. And believe me, because I actually had a scholarship open once and I was the judge, and I read through a whole ton. I think it was over 1,000 scholarships, and every single scholarship that I got, just the opening didn't even like intrigue me. It was just really hard for me to even read the whole thing. And sometimes literally I would come across an essay, if they didn't intrigue me in their opening paragraph or just at all, I would just be like, okay, no, definitely not the winner, next. Like, okay, no, next, nope, next. So like sometimes the reader doesn't even read your entire essay because your opening is just so weak, and they just automatically know, like, this isn't a winner, so why am I going to waste my time? So definitely have a strong opening so you have no worries in making sure that the reader is intrigued with what you have to say. So for each scholarship you apply to that has an essay, there's always going to be an essay prompt. And with this essay prompt, no matter the topic, sometimes it can be really easy to start typing it up and like really getting into the groove of things, and then all of a sudden like going on a tangent and kind of swaying away from the topic, which leads us to tip number 2. Always stay on topic. Before you even sit down to write your essay, make sure you read that prompt like 3 times. Like read it over and over again so your brain knows like this is the topic. Do not go off topic. Like for example, if your essay is about how you've helped your community, don't start going on a tangent listing all of your accomplishments and all the awards you've won during your high school career. Like it doesn't go. Yeah, you're making yourself look good, but that's not the purpose of the essay. And if you go on a tangent and start talking about something else, you're gonna lose the reader's attention. And first of all, not even that, they're just gonna be like, are they even paying attention to this essay prompt? Because they're not even talking about what we told them to talk about. So do not go on a tangent. And honestly, what helps me is writing on the top of the screen in bullet points the topic like over and over again. Not over and over again, but like putting the topic on the top of the page, so even when I'm typing it, I could just like scroll back up. Oh, okay, that was the topic, so we're gonna go back to that. Even if you know what you have to say sounds a little bit off track, but you know it's not, but in the end, you know you're gonna wrap it up in a way to actually like pertain to the topic, make sure you do that. Like strategically, make sure you do that. Don't say, oh, actually, like it doesn't sound like the topic right now, but like at the end I'm gonna bring it right back to the topic. Make sure you do that, because it's gonna be so easy if it looks like you're going off topic to continue going off and off and off and off and not actually tying it back. And that would be a bad mistake and a guaranteed L, unfortunately. So just make sure, guys, you are staying on topic. On to tip number 3, and this one may sound a bit cliche, but honestly, we see this all the time when looking through different scholarship essays, is to be authentic and to be yourself. Like, it's so cliche and so straightforward, like, yeah, duh, we know that, Bold.org, like, we know to be our authentic selves, but do you? Do you really know? Because I cannot tell you how many out of all 100,000 essays that we've read through here at Bold.org as a scholarship team, I cannot tell you how many essays it's really obvious that, okay, this person is just saying what they think we want to hear and not actually what's true to them and what is authentic and original to them. And honestly, when that happens, a bunch of scholarships start sounding exactly the same. A really good example of this is my essay when I went to the Fashion Institute of Technology. Actually, right now I'm repping the college I graduated from, Pepperdine University, but before I transferred there, I did go to fashion school in Manhattan. And let me tell you how I got in there. So when I was writing my essay, I believe the prompt was something about like, what made you interested in the fashion industry, something about the fashion industry. And for me, like growing up, I was the biggest tomboy. I hated shopping. I hated anything to do with like hair, makeup, all of that, especially fashion. Like I would rather go to GameStop and pick up a GameCube game than go shop for clothes. But you know what I did? I literally wrote, from as long as I could remember, I have been into fashion, so into fashion. I love fashion so much, blah, 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 blah. Which honestly, it was not the truth. I was literally being so inauthentic. But honestly, when it came to writing essays, I just watched a ton of YouTube videos, just like this one, to, you know, get more tips and how to actually write. And I know somebody told me, don't talk about what you think the reader wants to hear. And what did I do? Talk about exactly what I thought the reader wanted to hear. It was a terrible essay because it just wasn't true. It was literally, I straight up wrote a whole essay based on a lie. Okay, when I put it that way, it sounds very dramatic and intense. But anyway, you don't want to do that. You do not want to do that. So literally, I went back and I redid my whole entire essay. So basically, the truth was, I wasn't into fashion. I was such a tomboy. I didn't want anything to do with fashion until one day, I think I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13 years old. I went to a New York & Company. It's so funny because I don't even shop there anymore. But I went into a New York & Company store and I automatically fell in love with clothing. And from then on, I started having an obsession with clothing and fashion. And I started collecting Teen Vogue magazines, and I told the whole story and how I even won like a Teen Vogue contest, and that was true. That was all true, and it was all genuine. And honestly, I felt so much better about the essay because I was being myself. I was being genuine. So and moral of the story, I got in with the essay, and honestly, I can't tell you if I would have not gotten in and they could have seen right through my last essay. But even so, like the last essay didn't even have any oomph to it, you know, like it was just, okay, you're a regular girl who loved fashion and now you're going to fashion school, like big whoop, ooh. Like they want to hear like something more interesting. And I think my story of me being a tomboy my whole life was that interesting enough to get me into school. Moral of the story, be you, be yourself. As cliche as it sounds, be authentic because there is only one you. And honestly, when you are yourself and you are authentic and original, the reader's going to absolutely love you that much more. Okay, so one of the many mistakes that honestly so many students make when writing their scholarship essays is that they're just very vague, which leads us to tip number 4, is to be specific and elaborate. You want to give the reader a good sense about what you're talking about and leave really nothing up to the imagination unless we're talking about your opening. But like when you're really in the body and in the depth of your essay, you want to be specific because you don't want the reader thinking like, oh, do they mean this or do they mean this? You want them to get the whole picture, especially if you're telling a story or recounting a really important part of your life. Like you want them to understand and that you want them to feel the way you felt, even if you're talking about emotions. Like be specific. So for example, if you're talking about how you went to like a writing camp this summer, a very vague example of what you can say of what you learned in writing camp is, I learned about writing, which like that is so vague, and the reader's going to be like, okay, like yeah, you went to writing camp, of course you learned about writing, but what exactly about writing did you learn? So instead of that vague sentence, you could say, at writing camp, I learned about narrative structure and character building techniques. See, now that's way more specific and it's really like juicy, get straight to the point, so the reader has no questions about what you actually learned. You straight up told them you learned about narrative structure and character building techniques. You're not leaving anything up to their imagination and you're just full on giving them the full picture of what you learned at writing camp. And now onto the elaboration part. You want to add more meat and more substance to your essay, to the body of your essay. So for example, something that lacks meat and lacks elaboration is Model UN is my favorite extracurricular. And you just like leave it at that, and then you skip onto something else. The reader's gonna be like, okay, what about Model UN? Like what makes it so special? I don't get it. Like, that's it? You just like it? That's your favorite extracurricular activity? That's it? So as a better example on how to elaborate, you know, why Model UN is your favorite extracurricular is you could say, Model UN is my favorite extracurricular because I gained a new perspective on the art of compromise. See? You wrapped it up like a bow. You wrapped it up in a nice present to the reader because they're gonna know exactly why you like Model UN, and they're gonna be like, wow, that's a really great reason on why they enjoy the activity, not just like, oh, I liked it. Okay, I liked it. Why? Why? Always add a why. To elaborate, you always want to have a why. And overall, when you're more specific and you elaborate, it just gives a much more crisp and clean feel to your essay and just makes words just flow off the tongue as the reader is reading it. And just overall, it makes you sound more professional and just a better candidate to win the scholarship. So this lines us down to our last tip. Tip number 5. Drum roll, please. Proofread! That's right, it's another one that just sounds so cliche, like duh, we get it, we're gonna proofread. And honestly, students learn this their entire lives throughout elementary school, middle school, high school, throughout their entire educational careers. Students learn to proofread, yet they still don't do it. And we see it all the time here at Bold.org as the scholarship team is looking through essays. There's just so many grammatical errors that you're just like, okay, this person cannot win. They didn't even take the time to look over their essay, to proofread their essay. You could have the world's best essay concept known to man, like better than any essay anyone on this planet Earth in history has ever written, but if it's full with grammatical errors and spelling mistakes and commas placed in the wrong spot and just weird punctuation, that world's best concept is gonna turn into a big L. You are not gonna win the scholarship with that essay. So please, please, please make sure you proofread not once, not twice, maybe like 3 times or more. And also a really good tip is to have somebody else read it for you, whether this be a close friend or a teacher that you really trust, such as your English teacher, because it's really cool to gain a different perspective on somebody reading your essay, because you have only one perspective because you are only one person. But if you have other people read your essays for you, you're gonna have 2 more perspectives, and they're gonna be able to give you really good feedback to help you really improve the essay and also catch those grammatical errors that you just didn't catch yourself. Because sometimes when you're reading an essay over and over and over again, you may skip over things and not really notice things that need changing or like sound better, but when somebody else reads it for you, they're gonna give you that perspective. So when I was applying to transfer to Pepperdine University, go Waves, I had my roommate who is an incredible writer. She's amazing. Like, she's a fashion designer, but her hobby, and it should not even just be a hobby, it should be like her next career move, is a writer. She's an incredible writer. She's so into literature and all that, and she's very intelligent when it comes to like literature, and I'm not, I'm a marketing student. So every single time I made a revision, she read it and said, okay, maybe we can change this around. And I did it, and she'd read it again. Okay, maybe we can do this. Her perspective and my perspective put together really helped make a really strong essay. And some of the tips that she would give me, I would just be like, oh wow, I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think to write it that way. And just her language and the way she spoke was just so much more eloquent and more sophisticated than I. So when she gave me those corrections, I'm like, oh wow, yeah, that does sound so much better than like what I was saying. So overall, proofread, and get as many people as you can to proofread your essay. People that you trust, people who you know are going to give you honest feedback, because the worst thing is to say, hey, can you proofread my essay? And this person noticed all these mistakes and they just don't tell you because they don't want to make you feel bad. Just make sure you are having someone proofread it who you really trust to give you an honest revision. And if you stuck around this far in the video, you have unlocked a top secret bonus tip. That's right, we are here with a 6th tip, a bonus tip that is very top secret information that is from the team here at Bold.org. Tip number 6, the bonus tip, is to apply for more. Statistically speaking, only 1 in 10 students wins a scholarship. Like, That is not a lot. 1 in 10 students is not a lot statistically speaking. So especially when you're applying to like no essay scholarships, you're gonna have thousands and thousands and thousands of students applying for the same exact scholarship as you, and the competition is just gonna be so high. So if you keep applying for more, and not only just more no essay scholarships, more scholarships that are tailored to your major or your likes or your interest or your cultural background, because this way there is less competition. It's not only about the more you apply, it's the more you apply to the right kinds of scholarship. You could apply for 100 no essay scholarships on Bold.org and just bing, 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 bing. Like you could apply for 100 probably in one day if you wanted to. And chances of you winning are probably gonna be very, very slim, because no essay scholarships, especially when they're open to all education levels, are so competitive. Versus you're a STEM major and you're a female and you're applying to a bunch of scholarships on Bold.org for women in STEM, like your chances are gonna skyrocket because those scholarships are way less competitive. Or for example, if you're a first generation college student, look for scholarships on Bold.org, and not even just Bold.org, anywhere that you look for scholarships that are very specific to you, to your background, to your interests, to your major. So if you're a marketing student, look for marketing scholarships. If you're a first generation Hispanic student, that's me, look for scholarships for first generation Hispanic students. Apply for more, don't give up, and apply for more specific scholarships. There are so many of our Bold.org students who applied for so many scholarships before they won one. And we're gonna show you a video from one of our Bold.org's recent winners named Cecilia, and her story on how many scholarships she applied to before she won.
I did apply to a lot of them. I think I applied to like 100 right now. Sometimes it's just the luck of the draw, you just don't win. But when you do fail, I try to take the time to like read the winner's essay or something, or kind of look back on mine. Because a lot of the time after I reread my essays, I realized, oh, this sentence comes off bad. This paragraph sounds a little bit too much like this. And it kind of helps me rework my writing. And it also kind of helps me like, keep going, keep trying.
Cecilia applied to about 100 scholarships before winning one. And that may seem like a lot, but guys, once you win it, like it is so worth it. And honestly, guys, like just keep working. You got this, but sometimes it does take applying to a lot before you win one. And that is all the tips we have today on how to win a scholarship. We hope you enjoyed today's video brought to you by Bold.org. So please make sure you comment some things that you want to see from us next, whether it be tips, us explaining things, helpful hints, anything you want, guys. Comment down below and we will try our best to make a video about it. And also make sure to hit that thumbs up and share these tips with a friend that you think also could use these tips. And while you're at it, head to Bold.org right now and create your applicant profile if you haven't already, because once you do, you will unlock hundreds of thousands, that's right, hundreds of thousands of dollars in exclusive scholarships. All of our scholarships on Bold.org are not available anywhere else but Bold.org. So go ahead and create your applicant account and start applying today. We are just sending all the positive vibes for you writing your next scholarship essay. We believe in you. You got this. And remember, never, ever, ever give up. Do not give up. You got this. We believe in you, and go chase your dreams.